I'm now live. Good morning. I want to start with a quote today, which I'll read again in a second. When you are deciding on the next steps, next jobs, next career, further education, you should rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on this planet at this particular time in history. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That is a quote from none other than Chadwick Boseman, who passed away recently. I'm going to read it one more time for the people that are just joining us because it is such a big quote, and I feel like it really encompasses so much of I think it encompasses so much of who Chadwick is, and as well as the impact that he's been able to have on our world. So I'm going to read it one more time. This is Fiona, by the way. She's going to be in my arms today because she is recovering from her space surgery, so she's going to be hanging out. So the quote once again is, when you are deciding on the next steps, next jobs, next careers, further education, you should rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on this planet at this particular time in history. Chadwick Boseman. He is such a gift. And I use the present tense intentionally here because he still is. He lived a life that was embodied in purpose. And that impact doesn't die with the physical body. That impact lives on, and part of the conversation we're going to be having today is about purpose and business, and particularly, particularly how to find your purpose. It's been a question that's been coming up a lot. I've been helping a lot of folks through this particular question, and then with the passing of Chadwick, there's been so much more information and so many more quotes that have been coming up that I feel like it's the perfect time to talk about purpose and business, and why it matters. So thank you so much for joining. Typically what I like to do is I like to wait a few minutes for people to be notified to join us. Hello. Again, we're discussing purpose and business. Do you want to hang out or you want to go down? So my puppy Fiona had her little spay last week, and she's having a rough recovery, so she'll probably be popping around and you'll be hearing her. If you're just joining us, I'm going to read this quote like a third time because it's so incredibly powerful, and I think it's so important for us to really understand the power of purpose, especially as in business. I think it all starts there. I think I'm going to put you down because you're being a little finicky. What do you think? She's a little sedated and a bit on pain meds. So I'm going to go ahead and put you down, baby girl. Okay. So thank you for joining. As you're logging in, I would love to see where you're coming in from. It's been very interesting to see the mix of countries that have been joining. We've been getting a really worldwide audience, which is a lot of fun for me, and also really curious, where are you all from? How did you find me? So do let me know in the chat box. And I guess I'm going to start right at 11:38, and we'll start running through what I have for you. So again, we're going to be discussing specifically purpose in business, and part of what I'd like to offer today in today's live, as I fix my hair, oh that's fun, part of what I would like to offer in today's live is some exercises that I've done, some exercises that I've taken some clients through to help them find their purpose and to get a little bit more clarity about what they want to bring into this world. So we have New York, Pozdrav, I don't know where that is. But already an international audience, which is always a lot of fun. So I think it's right at 11:38, so I'm going to go ahead and read this quote for a third time. This is a quote from Chadwick Boseman, who passed away recently. If you're not familiar with him, you probably know him best. Los Angeles, yay, LA! I'm in LA too. You probably know him best as the Black Panther. And so this was a quote that when he was doing a commencement speech at a graduation, and it's one that when I heard it, it just resonated so much, and I really wanted to start today's live with this quote. So the quote is, when you are deciding on the next steps, next jobs, next careers, further education, you should rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. So we are shifting so much. We are shifting so much between the pandemic, the uprisings, like systems are dismantling. And we have the space to create something better in its place. And hi, Philip. And purpose, again, purpose is the reason why you are on this planet at this particular time in history. Fiona, why are you crying? So if you're just joining me, my puppy had her space surgery last week, and she's been having a bit of a rough recovery. So she's on a lot of pain meds and sedatives right now, but somehow still... Move around. Can you go to your bed? Go to your bed. Go to your bed and take a nap. I think you're just overtired, baby girl. Okay, well, I'm going to try not to be too distracted. But she's also really cute, and like if she's in pain, I need to make sure that she gets some attention. Oh, she wants to be in my bed. Excuse me. She's not allowed in my bed, but I guess we'll let you do it today. Okay, go hang out. So again, we have the space for the first time in a very long time to really create systems that are going to honor us. And I feel like the best way that we can do that is to really get in tune with ourselves and figure out what our purpose is, and then create systems around that. Hi, Ron. Hello, hello. So again, purpose is the reason why you're on this planet at this particular time in history. So the inspiration for this particular, hey, Mike, what a fun surprise. So the inspiration for this particular live is a whole lot of synchronicity. I've been asked a lot over the last few months to help people find, I'm getting like so many notifications right now. Let me go ahead and, so I've been getting a lot of different questions, especially during the pandemic and uprisings, about like people asking me to help them find their purpose. And how, not just how to find their purpose, but also how to live with purpose, and how to create business and systems that honor that purpose. Because it's not enough just to know what your purpose is. It really takes embodying those values, embodying that mission, and living your life in a way that honors it, right? It's not enough to just know. So I can't tell you how to live your life. I have zero intention of doing that. What I can do, and the skills that I do have, is that I can at least, and again, this is a really big topic. It's not a topic that I'm going to be able to give you everything when it comes to this, like in this short live, in this short time that we have together. But I do think it's a discussion that at least will uncover a little bit of your path. And when you uncover a little bit of your path, then you can continue forward and keep uncovering more and more, which is always a fun inquiry and exploration. So purpose as a soulpreneur, and again, I say soulpreneur and not solopreneur because they're two very different things. As a soulpreneur, as a creative, as a light worker, as a business owner, it's everything. It's everything. Like I truly believe that business and being a business owner is a healing practice. Hey, Bobo. So again, it's so much is like when you're in business for yourself, or even when you're in business and you're, creating a business, you're creating a brand, so much is revealed about your inner self, about your inner works, about your limiting beliefs, your patterns, your shadow, as well as your gifts, right? Your character, your inner knowing, all of that is revealed through being in business and how you show up in that business, the systems that you create, as well as how you communicate it. So like a biggest example that I have of this is a lot of soulpreneurs or a lot of creatives feel a lot of resistance to asking for money and to asking to get paid. And when you talk about, business as a healing journey, that is a huge sign about not being willing to receive or having worthiness, or unworthiness of limiting patterns. So when I say that business is a healing practice and so much is revealed in that, like that's the type of things that I'm talking about. And it can also show up in way more subtle ways, right? It can show up in marketing language. Like how many times have you signed up for for a program, or you've landed on a sales page and it's like, sign up now or it's going to be gone. Or even I saw an email recently that literally had shame language built in. It's like, if you miss out on this, it's your fault. And that to me speaks to, it's such a huge tell to where that person is as far as what they think about what they're offering, as well as what they think about the people that they're offering to, that they're serving. So business, I believe, is a healing practice. And I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years at this point. Like it's been a while. And I think the greatest gift and the greatest practice that I've given myself has been this business, or not just this business, because now it's my third one, but it has been being in business and being in service to, honoring myself and my purpose and things like that. So when it comes to finding purpose in the scope of business, there's two different things that I've seen over, my last 14 years, not just in business for myself, but also in building businesses for other folks. It's two different things. One, it's either people will only think about profit, they'll only think about the bottom line, or the opposite side of the spectrum is that they'll only think about being in service of others, of being as accessible as possible. So those are the two spectrums that I've seen. For the most part, there's always going to be like some people that are in between. So there's no shame, first of all, in making a profit. You have to make a profit to be in business and to sustain a business. Like that's just a matter of fact. Like there's no shame in turning a profit. There's also no shame in building, in being in service of others. It's just of only being in service of others. There's also no shame in only being in service of others. It's just entirely unsustainable. If you're only in service of others and you're not considering yourself in the equation, then you're not going to be in business for long, and you're not going to be able to be in service for all that long either. So when it comes to finding purpose, like there's a few different steps that we have to do. Like we have to do a lot of inner work. Not a lot of inner work. It's just fun inquiry. Like I don't want to scare you away from doing it, because it's a lot of fun and there's just so much that gets discovered in it. But when it comes to defining purpose in our business, we have to define purpose in ourselves first, right? Because like Chadwick Boseman says, purpose crosses disciplines. So at the end of the day, I feel like I'm actually a really good example of this. My business has changed. My businesses have been totally different businesses every single time I launched a new one. And if Bo's still on here, Bo's one of those too that has totally new businesses every time she launches them. However, purpose is usually, purpose will also evolve as you evolve as a human, but purpose will cross disciplines. Like you can have a purpose to, serve your community, and that how differently can that show up? There's so many ways that can show up. So actually I had a client recently. Who during that hired me for a full day marketing intensive. And it was the whole purpose was to figure out how to position them and their marketing during the pandemic, what to really focus on, and what the marketing should be, and if the business should shift. So I had this entire session planned out. I was scheduled, it was a full day, like it was a full day intensive that we were going to do. So I had it all planned out. I had the slides, I had the exercises I wanted to take them through and the team through. And whenever I start a session, I always like to do a temperature gauge. That's just, hot tip, if you're doing any sort of teaching or if you're consulting, that's always a good place to start. And I like to do it on a regular basis. So even if we're doing like a long-term project, I always like to ask at key points, like, what are you hoping? Like, what are you hoping to get out of this? Like, how can I make sure that I'm in service and that I'm serving your goal for the right now? And then I can also offer guidance around, I usually set the overall tone since I'm the professional, but also like people know themselves, and I'm not going to pretend that I know better, that I can tell people about themselves. Like you are the expert on you. And that always shocks people, by the way. Like, can I just mention that I can't tell you how many clients come to me. They're like, oh, you're the expert. You tell me what to do. I'm not the expert on you. And my whole thing is aligned marketing, which is aligned to you and your values. So like, you have to meet me here so I can do my job. But it's always really interesting to me that people are so we're so used to fitting ourselves into systems rather than creating systems that serve us. Hi, Sunny. So that's also like, I feel like, and also I get a lot of, whenever I'm in different, rooms and chats, like people always tell me like, oh, marketing is so overwhelming. Marketing is overwhelming if you think you have to do everything, right? Rather than finding out what works for you. Hi, thanks for joining. So again, like part of knowing what your purpose is will help you figure out your marketing. And again, it's again, so back to the story. So I was hired by a client to do a full day marketing intensive to help them in the business totally shift during the pandemic to figure out what they should be doing. And so I asked this question, this temperature check of like, what do you hope to get out of this? What do you hope to get out of today? And usually for like 1 day marketing intensives, like, oh, we want to make sure we have clarity. We want to really get clear on our values. We want to make sure we want to figure out what our messaging streams are. We want to figure out what the best platforms we should be marketing to. We want to figure out, the strategy, the overall strategy we should be utilizing for the next quarter. Like they're usually very specific and very logic-based like things that we want to discover during these full day intensives. And like, I always like to leave people with actionable things that they can move away with. Like, part of the collective agency, part of the greatest honor is that when they get so big, they have to hire in-house. Like, I really love that. And I've lost a few of the collective to the full-time positions because of that. But again, like that to me that's what I'm here for, right? Like one of my purposes is to empower people to be in business for themselves and to teach them how to do that. And marketing is one skill that I have pretty down packed. So it's one avenue that I can take off of their plate so that they can create a sustainable business practice that is in service of them and what they want to bring to the world, in service of their purpose. So again, I'm asking them, what do you want to get out of this session? Like, what do you want to get out of today? What do you want to walk away with? And again, like we had talked before, and there was a very clear directive that we had in front of us, which was, oh, we want to figure out the marketing and how to pivot during the pandemic. So I asked this question, and the answer was, I want to find my purpose. Okay. So of course I smiled because there's two different parts of this. First of all, like I always am super honored, like helping somebody find their purpose is a big deal to me. It's taken me a long time I've been in self-discovery for a very long time, and I've done a lot of inner work, and I've done a lot of, I've done a lot of work around finding my purpose and living embodied and living on purpose and creating systems that honor that purpose at every step of the way. And so the first reaction was obviously I was amused that I had planned this entire day, and we had planned this entire day, and this was not what we planned. And also incredibly honored that I would get to be the person to be like, okay, well, I guess we're going to help you find your purpose in a day, which is not a small task. But again, I've been in the self-development. I've been in my business as a healing practice for 14 years over the course of 3 businesses, and as well as helping other people bring their businesses to life and create their businesses. So I might know a thing or two about finding purpose and defining values and creating systems in that way. Hey, Craigan. Fiona, excuse me. Again, if you're just joining in like Craigan is, Fiona had her space surgery last week, and so she's a little hopped up on meds and pain meds and acting out a little bit today. So you might hear her crying or whining or a little bit of baby barking, which is totally adorable because she's the 9-pound little weenie that I'm obsessed with. So thanks for, being flexible with that. So again, went into that day expecting to do marketing, expecting to help them shift their entire business. And the question I'm left that what they actually want to accomplish is finding purpose, like on an individual level, so that they can bring into the business. So again, I've been in inquiry, like if you know me personally too, like first of all, like, you know, I'm a Sagittarius with a Virgo rising, which means that I love knowledge and I love researching, and I get, like, I'm addicted to learning. Like, sometimes it's a problem, but I'm addicted to learning and learning about myself and learning how to clear those channels and to create, like, clear communication has been what has let me be so successful, often very quickly in all the businesses that I've done or that I've, you know, grown, not just for myself, but also for my clients, because I know the foundation. Like, I know how to do this. So I had some exercises that I took them through the entire day. Now, I'm going to deliver as much as I can during this session. Again, we are going to be limited because it's IG and it's IG Live, and I don't have the face-to-face communication. So, like, in my workshops, I really like to do hot seats, which is, like, actually look at what people are working on and then talk it through, because I really believe that getting it out of sometimes your own head and talking it through with somebody is incredibly important. And I'm a very good mirror. I'm very good. It's also, like, I've been in business for so long. Like, I know how to hear for things that you don't know how to hear. Like, it's one of my superpowers. Like, I'll often get on the phone with, whenever I'm doing, hey, Catherine. So I'll often get on the phone with clients, and usually, like, one of the first questions that I'm asking them, hey, Gabby, one of the first questions that I'm asking them is, like, what are your values? Because I don't do, my goodness, so many fun people signing in right now. Hey, Steven, you were one of the inspirations for today's live. So it's Fiona. Fiona's gonna bark. Fiona's hopped up on meds and, like, a little bit loopy. Fifi, quiet. Excuse me. I'm just gonna go pick her up. Give me 1 second. Are you gonna be quiet, or do we need to come get you? Okay. She's gonna throw a fit. Hey, Gabby. So, let me backtrack. Where was I? Oh, so I'll get on a phone with a client. One of the first things that I always ask them is, like, what are your values? Like, what values do I need to be aware of moving forward, not just for the business, but also, like, as a human? Like, I don't want to work with somebody who doesn't have values, and not just doesn't have values, but doesn't embody values. Woof. Yeah, she's cute. She has the cutest little bark too. Like, it's so high pitched. Like, everything she does, I'm just obsessed with. So, like, a lot of times people don't have their values defined, especially when it comes to business. So I'm very good at listening. Like, I'm like, okay, well, what do you see? What's the vision? What are the important pieces? And I'm very good at piecing out. I'm like, okay, so these are your 3 values. I just heard through all the bullshit that you told me. It's not bullshit. Like, let me backtrack. I know how to hear for what values are. Yes, they need to embody values, Gabby says, 100%. So, basically what I really want to encompass in this live is there's no way I'm going to be able to take you through all the exercises that I did with this one particular client for a full day intensive. However, what I can do is I can at least give you a few, like, high level tips and, like, suggestions. So if you are trying to find your purpose, not just for your business, but also personally, this will help you get a little bit of clarity, or at least set you on the path to start that inquiry, like, set you on the path that you can start walking it a little bit, and maybe you start running. That was a really fun little movement I did. So that's the goal for today. It's helping you find your purpose. Steven, you better be sticking around, because you were one of the synchronicity people that asked this question. So for those of you that are just joining, I've been asked a lot about purpose lately. Lately. Really, time is weird since the pandemic, and with the uprisings and everything else, I've been getting a lot of questions like, what's my purpose? Like, what are my values? So, which is great. Like, I love that this is creating a space that people are inquiring about it, because, again, systems are dismantling and we are building them, and we need to know what our purpose is and what our values are in order to build them correctly. Hey, Plastic Gallery. So I'm going to read this quote one more time, because I feel like so many people, like, signed on later, and, like, this quote is just like, ugh, it feels so good to me. So I want to read it one more time. It's from the one and only Chadwick Boseman. When you are deciding on the next steps, next jobs, next careers, further education, you should rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Purpose is the reason why you're here. So let's discover why you're here. So again, I'm not going to be able to go through everything. Just a little bit of food for thought as we go through it. And if there's questions, by the way, like you all know, I do a lot better face-to-face. And if not face-to-face, like at least on Zoom, so I can like have some back and forth and I can have a conversation rather than a one-way information dump. So please feel free to like leave comment in the chat box, questions if you have them. Just feel free to conversate. So I'm not just staring into this screen and talking to myself, although my hair does look very fun today and I do appreciate that. Diving in. Are we ready to dive in? I'm ready to dive in. I love finding purpose. Okay. So if you've been tuning into these lives for a while, like I think I'm on month 3 now of doing them. I try to save as many as I can, but IG glitches from time to time. But it's been a few months. So if you've been with me weekly for a while, you know what the step 1 of everything is. It's values. Surprise! Values is step 1 of everything. So we're going to start, how do you find your purpose? How to find your purpose is how you find your values. I'm going to have some tea because I'm apparently out of tea. So I'm not going to have tea. I'm going to have some water before we dive into this. So values. Values I define as what you value in this human experience, right? So do you value friends and family? Do you value connections, not just friends and family? Do you value adventure? Do you value comfort? Do you value beauty? A lot of creatives, by the way, value beauty. So I don't want it to be like a shamey thing, like, oh, I need that. Like, it's not a shallow thing. Like, beauty is a beautiful thing to bring to the world. Do you value honesty? Do you value connection? Do you value questioning? Do you value dismantling the patriarchy? What are your values? What is it that makes all of this worthwhile? JP! Hey, JP! So part 1 of discovering your purpose is getting clear on your values. And again, if you've been with me for a while, you know this is the step 1 to everything that I do is values. Everything we do starts from values and being able to create systems that embody those values. So how can we know what our purpose is without knowing what our values are? It's great to, I'm not seeing you. It's great to have your name pop up. JP says it's great to see you. Long time, very long time. We're overdue for a cat. It's been like years at this point. Gosh, time flies. So an easy way to find your values is just writing out, again, the things that you feel are worthwhile in life, the things that make life worth living. There's also, if you want a cheat sheet, which I mean, why not? If you just Google core values, there'll be lists and lists and lists and lists that will come up, right? And you can basically, what you do is you go through that list and start circling or start writing down in your own journal or typing up, however works for you. God, these glasses leave a red mark on my nose. Just start pulling out the values that resonate with you. So you're going to have this huge list of words, essentially, and then you'll start to see that there's going to be overlap, right? So you'll start to see like, oh, well, this kind of goes with this, and like, so this is actually under like one bubble, and this kind of goes with this, so this is like another bubble, and you'll start to discover the themes that are in your values list. So I can tell you, like, for me personally, I have 4 core values. I'm wondering, actually, it'd be really fun to see if y'all can guess them. I'd be curious to see if anybody could actually do it. That might actually be a fun question. I'm gonna write this down. I really like it when I have fun ideas. Hello, Frankie. Hi, Carla. So, guess my values. So if you want to guess, you don't have to, but it'd be fun if you could guess what my core values are. I don't think anybody could. I mean, maybe people that know me could definitely, because they know me. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. My number 1 core value is freedom. I'm definitely a Sagittarius. Give us some clues. Okay, some clues. I might just pull up, some clues. So just values. So values can be beauty, it can be connection, it can be adventure, it can be honesty, it can be, let's see, honesty, JP says, is one of my core values. It actually, I have something very similar to honesty, but it's not honesty itself. Because also, like, one thing that's really interesting is that honesty is different cross cultures. So again, this is where like the nerd in me, like loving to do way too much research on things, come out. So honesty looks differently to different cultures. Like if you look at European cultures, honesty takes into consideration how information lands on the other person. So there's always this, I think it was Esther Perel who was giving this podcast. I forget what podcast she was on, but Esther Perel is, you know, a big relationship person. Yeah, I'm a Sagittarius. Yes. Dove says he's a Sagittarius too. Freedom is a big thing. So honesty in you know, European countries takes into consideration how information lands on somebody. So Esther Perel gives this example of like when it comes to like things like infidelity, right? In European cultures, it might be more honest to not speak about the infidelity if, for example, if like the infidelity causes the person who was unfaithful to realize everything they like, it just causes them to step up and be a better person, as far as like be a better partner, realize how they haven't been showing up for their partner, realize what they haven't been doing, realize how they've been slacking, and then they just start showing up better in the relationship. In European cultures is really interesting because it's like what the honesty does in that case is it shifts the burden of guilt to the other person. So it takes into consideration the psychological impact of like brutal honesty, which is something that's very much taught in Western cultures, which is, oh, just share everything and let the people deal with it. And I'm not saying that one is right or one is wrong, by the way. Like it's something that I always question within myself. It's like, what is actually the right for me, because it can't like, and also it's going to change, but it's too very, so it's funny that honesty is one of the first one that comes up as far as like what people are guessing, because honesty is actually totally different cross-culturally. And if you don't know, I'm like first generation American, French Tunisian, so I am literally an embodiment first of all like colonized and colonial, and then also immigrant culture. So there's a lot of different things intermingling in the identity that is me. So that's about honesty. Fun little tangent that only I would go down. So far guesses have been honesty, which I do love as well. Like, I mean, again, Sagittarius, if I find out that you're lying, and I usually find out before you know to tell me, it's not a good thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my 4 core values. And they are freedom. And freedom to me means a few different things, right? So it's also like, as you're discovering your values, discover how you define them, because it doesn't matter how like the world defines them. Like, we're discovering your personal values. Like, how do you define your values? So freedom to me is, first of all, working wherever I want to work. So most of my work I can do from a laptop anywhere in the world. And passion, JP is guessing, is another one. I feel like passion is a result. But I think passion is a great core value to have too. Creativity, that's a fantastic value. I do value creativity. So freedom to me means being able to work wherever I want to work, working for the people I want to work for. It also means bringing that value to other people. So even the way that I have my business set up, like, so client facing, we act as an agency because we are an agency. However, as far as the setup goes, we are a collective. So what that means is that every member of the collective, everybody that open-minded, that is actually, there is one that is exactly that. So the way that we have the collective set up is that everybody is their own vertical, right? So everybody is in business for themselves, and then we exist under the umbrella that is, Frank and Anna East, the creative agency, and or rather the marketing agency. And what that does is a few different things. One is that people that are working in the collective get to choose what projects that they work on. They get to set their hours, they set their pricing. Like, they have that freedom themselves, as well as, like, they have the freedom. Like, I think one of the biggest issues of being a freelancer is that if you're not working, you're not making money. And I think that's really fucked up. So also part of having the collective is that you have the freedom to take time off, and there's somebody else in the collective that can, cover you during that time that you want to take time off. So that's how freedom shows up for me and my values, and how I've embodied them in my business practice. So that's freedom. The other one I have is just to like JP guessed open-minded. So one of my core values is curiosity. So it is about open-minded because it's also about like actually digging in and figuring out what systems I actually value and the ones that I don't. And it's funny, I was in conversation with a friend this morning, and they're coming down the path, and it's even like I share this on my Instagram too. Like, I'm very open about sharing the journey that I've been on as far as self-discovery and how I've kind of stepped into myself, and how much I love it and how much I think everybody should do it. But one of the conversations we were having was around having the confidence and practicing the muscle of doing things by yourself and for yourself and because you want to and when you want to, which is, again, speaks back to the freedom, but it also speaks to the curiosity. So, and one thing that I used to have terrible anxiety, and I was a textbook codependent. Just a little bit about my personal life. So I couldn't even like go to the grocery store by myself without like feeling some sort of anxiety about it. So in the last really 4 years at this point, like I've really done a lot to get curious. And when I start to feel that anxiety, instead of shying away from it, it's about diving into it. And really, there's this exercise that I really like to do. Like, this has nothing to do with finding your purpose, but if you have anxiety or if you have any sort of emotions, it's always, this is how I embody my curiosity. It's called the 7 layers deep exercise. And what it is that when there's a feeling that comes up, it's asking and doing some internal work to figure out what it actually is. So for example, like if I was having anxiety about like going to the grocery store, I don't know if this is going to be a good example because it's just off the top of my head and had zero intention of talking about the 7 layers deep exercise, but here we are. So it's like if I was feeling anxiety, it's like, okay, well, what am I actually feeling? It's like, oh, I don't want to go, to the grocery store by myself. Okay, why is that? And then it's like, oh, because I feel this and this. It's like, okay, but like, why is that? Like, and it's going, basically you ask the question 7 times until you get to the root emotion of why. And what you'll find a lot of times is that root emotion will show up in so many different avenues in your life. So that's the 7 layers deep exercise. And it's one that again, that's how I embody curiosity. It's one of the many ways I embody curiosity. I also embody curiosity in conversation with other people. Like, I love learning about people. Like, I think that humans are fascinating. I feel like there's so many different expressions of this human life that are just so fucking cool. Like, they're so fucking cool. And I love to understand, like, I mean, maybe this is also, again, Sagittarius, Virgo rising. But I just think it's so interesting to follow the breadcrumbs and to see how and why people are the way that they are. And I've been very blessed to be able to have conversations with people to start kind of pulling those strings and help them ask questions that they wouldn't think to ask themselves. So that's curiosity. And then I have 2 more, which are connection. That's actually being able to connect with people, and then expansion. So as you see, like my 4 core values are freedom, curiosity, connection, and expansion. And that shows up everywhere. That shows up everywhere for me. It shows up in my day-to-day. Like, if I'm not getting curious about something, if I feel stuck. So right now I've been like watching my puppy who just had her space surgery. And then plus there's been it's been crazy hot outside and there's a ton of fires around LA. I've been stuck in my apartment for 6 days, and it's driving me crazy because I can't embody one of my core values of freedom. It's making me a little loopy. It has given me space though to get curious, like, why am I so loopy, being like stuck down, and like what? So I've been able to embody other values because of it, but it's definitely driven me crazy. So that's step 1 of finding the purpose, is first get really, really clear on your values. Super clear. So I gotta give you guys the exercise. I told you, because I can't show you anything because this is IG Live. This is a very weirdly ironed shirt and I feel like it looks very awkward. So step 1 is values. Step 2, and actually JP brought it up, is he talked about, passion was one of his guesses. Step 2 of finding your values is passion. What are you passionate about? What do you get lost in doing? So what are the things that you do in your day-to-day life or maybe it's not day to day, maybe it's like month to month, maybe you only get to do it like once every few years. What are the things that when you do them, like these are the things that you look forward to? These are the things that like feed your soul. Like these are the things that you're like, that just, let me see what I have written. Yeah. Well, the experiences that light you up, the ones that you look forward to. Like what is it? What are those things? So those are your passions. Make this bigger so I can not have to look down so much. So again, part of how I embody also my freedom and my curiosity and my expansion values, like one thing that I'm really passionate about is nature. Like I love nature. I love it. I love to be in it. I love to be held by it. I love to hold it. I love nature. And it's become such a huge part of my mental health, of my connection to myself, has been being out in nature. So, like one thing that I'm really passionate about is like disconnecting from screens, because I'm on them a lot for myself and for clients, and connecting, like tapping into Mama Nature. So like even like a couple weekends ago, like I was so in need of nature, and I was just like, oh, I need to feel this passion, that I ended up going camping by myself. And it was amazing. It was also like, if you saw my post, I definitely had some challenges in that. There was definitely tears shed. So if you haven't seen that, that's a cute little hair just flipped up. So if you haven't seen that, definitely go check out my feed afterwards, and you'll get a majority of the story. I don't share everything, but you get the gist of what I went through. And I'm also like, one of the other things I'm like super passionate about, which if you haven't noticed, it's why I'm here. It's business. Like I love business, and I love empowering people to be in business for themselves. Like I think it's honestly like the coolest thing ever. It's a lot of fucking hard work. Like let me not like sugarcoat everything, but it's also really freaking empowering. Like when you're in business for yourself, you get to decide everything. You're also responsible for everything, right? So one of the things I'm really passionate about is empowering people to be in business for themselves, and also empowering them to be in business in a way that is honoring of themselves. So that's why I've been doing these lives every week for the last few months, is because I'm passionate about it, and I'm passionate again about empowering people. Like I really think that, if this pandemic has shown us anything, it's that like we're responsible for ourselves. I'm passionate about business and marketing and helping people succeed. Yeah, same. We should have a conversation after this. I love helping people. And I love, one of the greatest feelings in the world is when people come to me and they're like super overwhelmed with like, oh my God, I have to do this for my marketing, I have to do this. It's like, no, you don't. You don't have to do anything, first of all. Like how many successful businesses do you know that have zero social media presence? A lot. How many businesses do you know that have all the social media presence and zero sales? A lot. There's not, I feel like we get this impression that we have to do all the things in order to be quote unquote successful. But first of all, like, how are you defining success? To me, success, like I'll be like, I played the retail model, the volume model, like business model in my first business for like the first 3 years of it. And I did not enjoy it. And it took some self-inquiry to realize that I don't want to be retail. And even now, like that's something that I really believe. Like I don't want to serve millions of people. The people that I want to serve, a lot of people, not millions. I want to serve a decent amount of people who are serving way more. Like that's how I want to have my impact, right? Like I don't like, maybe eventually I'll be for the masses and I'll like work up that muscle. But that doesn't, like, I like to work with people on a one-on-one basis. I like to, work on a group setting basis, and 1 to 1,000 for me right now isn't something that feels authentic to me. So I would rather work with the leaders of these businesses and teach them how to embody their values and have an impact that just like creates like a ripple effect. So that's one of my things too. So I'm passionate about helping people be in business and stay in business for themselves too, because it's not just about like starting a business, it's also about sustaining business, which again, if you're only in service of others, there's no way you can be sustainable. So you also have to be in service of yourself. So again, we're essentially, if you're just joining us, I know there's people that are trickling in and out. We're defining our purpose. No big deal. No big deal for this little IG live. So we talked about the first step is defining your values. Second step is defining your passion, getting really clear about what you're passionate about. Hey, Alex. And then once you have those two things, this is where it gets a little bit more logic-based and less internal. I mean, I guess there is internal inquiry as well, because there's a lot of folks that I know that don't know what they know. And this is discovering your skills. What are you good at? Right? So like, I'm actually really good at negotiating, and I'm really good at asking people for money when it's for other people. Like if it's just for me, I'm like, but like, that's also why the collective works for me, is because I know the value of other people and I have zero problem asking for it and like charging for it. And also like, I still have resistance. I'm learning to not have resistance about asking money for myself. But it's a skill that I have, and I know that I have it. And that's also part of why I love the collective, is that like, I get to show up for those folks and like help them make money in their particular business, whether it's like doing the SEO or the website design or whatever it is. So that's a definite skill that I have. I'm also like really skilled in a lot of things that aren't business related. Like I know a lot about human design because my mom does human design readings, and she's been doing it for a while. So like, astrology wise and human design wise, like I have information. And I also, like, side note, if people are open to it, I like to use human design to help with their marketing, because I think like energetically that makes a really big difference as well. But not everybody's into that, so I don't bring it for everyone. Other skills that I have. Apparently I'm pretty good at just like coming online and talking. So that's a new skill I didn't know I have. I'm also, what I figured out 2 weekends ago, really good at changing a tire very quickly. Even when my car's fully loaded with camping gear. So skills, right? And skills don't have to be related to anything. Like, I just want you to take a moment and write down the skills that you have and the things. So again, we've clarified values. We have defined our passion. And then my nails are terrible. And then lastly, it's, skills. What skills do you have? Now, a lot of times, like, we get stuck and like we don't realize why we're so successful. Like, another skill that I have is connecting with children. I was a child photographer back in the day, newborn photographer for maternity family, and I'm really good with children. Maybe it's because I'm actually a child at heart, or I don't know what it is. I'm just really, really good at connecting with children. And it's actually part of the reason why even like a couple weeks ago, I got the email that apparently I got nominated, and I am still the #1 newborn photographer in Miami, even though I haven't lived in Miami in 4 years or photographed newborns in 7. But I'm that good. But that's a skill that I have. And I'm also, there's a lot of skills that I have. Like, let's be real. The one that I'm offering you right now is marketing. So we've defined our values, we've defined our passions, we defined our skills. So I don't know if I finished that thought though. Like, if you're not sure what skills you have, ask the people close to you. Ask the people close to you what you're good at. And that's all, by the way, like, that's just a fun exercise to do, period. Is just to ask people, like, what do you think I'm good at? Because it's just, sometimes we just need that validation, and sometimes it's just nice to hear that the people that we're close to see us and see the gifts that we have to bring to the world. And sometimes that's important. A lot of times that's important. Yeah. So we have these 3 things defined. Hello, Roberto. So we have the 3 things defined: values, passion, skills. So now what you're going to do is you're going to find the overlap. What ways, and it looks like we have about 8 minutes left, although I did start a little early, so maybe we have like 10 minutes left, I want to say. So find the overlap. What is the overarching overlap between your values, your passions, and your skills? And then you have your purpose. So So there's a lot, again, like this is something that I can do a full weekend intensive on breaking down all these different elements of breaking down and really, really diving in. And I really, like, if finding your purpose is something that you're being pulled towards, if finding your purpose is something that you're just feeling the yearning for internally, I really, 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 really invite you to do this inner work. And this is a really good starting point, if I do say so myself. This is where I started too. And I like to think that I am a pretty embodied human, especially when it comes to showing up in business with values and showing up in business and creating systems that honor those values and honor people and honor me. So again, like there's so many, like I could spend a full day just on values personally, and teaching inquiry around values and having those discussions. Like I think if you want to bring in anything into this world, like you should be, not even if you want to bring anything to this world, honestly, like if you just want to know about yourself, like let's take it one step further. Like if you just want to know about yourself, like figure out what you're about. What the fuck do you value? That's a big question. Yeah, maybe this would be a good 3-day little intensive, huh? Defining values, defining passion, defining skills. I also just gave you like not the full overview, but I gave you a good overhead, and at least I set you down a path that you can get really curious about this stuff. So you know your values, or at least you know how to find your values, you know how to figure out your passions, you know how to figure out your skills, and you can put 2 and 2 together, or I guess 1 + 1 + 1 together. And where does it overlap? Where does it overlap? And I feel like that exercise alone has created so much clarity in my life and in like the people that I've been so lucky. I've always been very vocal about the journey that I'm on, and like my self-discovery and my inquiry, and how I'm always peeling back layers. I guess a little obnoxious, but like as soon as like I get comfortable with like a 1-up leveling, I'm like, okay, let's do it again, and I just keep diving in and in and in. And I feel like that's really what's helped me. It's really what's allowed me to be in business for myself for the last 14 years. It's really what's allowed me to have so many incredibly deep, authentic, and vulnerable relationships, not just with my friends, my family, but also with a lot of clients. Like the work that I do as far as, aligned marketing goes, is I get to know the core of who people are, which is such an incredible honor. It really is. And most of my clients become friends because, again, I only work with purpose-driven brands. And usually sometimes the purpose is just like, oh, I just need more time to spend with my family, which is a valid purpose. And sometimes it's, like we want to dismantle for example, I had one client that was like, oh, we want to dismantle, college debt. No big deal. So purpose doesn't have to be a big thing, too. I think that one of my purposes is definitely empowering other people. And I like to do that through business. I do that through personal relationships, and then through new skills that I'm developing that I'm not going to share yet. If Gabby's still on here, Gabby knows. And Bo knows, actually, if Bo's still on here too. So yeah, if you've stuck around for this entire hour, you know what gold I just delivered. You're aware. I know what gold I just delivered. So if you haven't had a chance to like watch the whole thing, and also like I understand that Instagram is not the best platform for these lives. Like I get it. I need to be on my phone also all the time. So when people go live for a long time, I can't stay on. I have been trying to save these lives. IG doesn't always let me save, which has been a thing. But it does let me save. First of all, I'll post to my feed. I'll also post it to my website, where you'll be able to watch it at time and a half and also see the transcript. So if you're hearing impaired, you can just read it and see the entire thing. So that will be available probably within today's Wednesday. We'll usually I put it up the next day. So if you do want to come back and circle back and watch it, not in real time, but that's what I like to do too, by the way. Like, that's a huge way of how I learn a lot. And also how I hack my ADD brain is I whenever I watch or I'm learning something, I always play it at least time and a half, because that forces my brain to listen and to like actually sponge things up. So I like to offer that to people as well. So it's 12:28. I think I'm going to get booted off very quickly since we're now running out of time. Are there any questions? Any remaining questions? Any comments, concerns? I also have posted, by the way, the whole schedule for the month of September. It's in a highlight called Live Schedule. So you'll be able to see, and what I'll do actually today, because I forgot to do it. I've been worried about my puppy, so I haven't done it. But I'll do that today, is I'll post, like, so you can set reminders to be reminded within Instagram. You'll get a notification of like when those are going to happen. So that'll go up today. And I think that's everything. If there's no questions or comments or concerns or inspirations or praises, I'll take those too. I'll definitely take those too. See, I'm learning to receive the good. I look really tan too, by the way, for being indoors for so long. Maybe it's this lighting, maybe it's the filter, who knows? All right, well, thanks for joining. I'm gonna get booted off here because I think I'm running out of time. We've been on here for about an hour. So if you just joined, you're too late. You're too late, you miss a lot of goodness. I'm on every Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. And again, in the highlights, you'll be able to set reminders and things like that and see the entire schedule of what we're going to be discussing. So, yeah. Unless if whoever signed on just wants to ask a quick question, like, go for it. Until I get kicked off, I guess I can hang out. DM me? Well, you can DM me. I don't like taking orders. Not in this context. Hi. So yeah, if you're just signing in, if you have questions also, like, you can feel free to just put it in the chat box and I can just answer it here. Or if you'd like to DM me marketing questions, you can as well. So if you just joined, we were talking, I gave so much gold within this last hour, as far as like finding purpose within yourself and for your business. If you haven't joined my live sessions before, they're always a lot of fun. If I do say so myself. No, I've been getting a lot of really great feedback, and also there's been really fun topics that have been coming up. So this topic particularly was about purpose, which I love. And I think it's been really important, especially during the pandemic and the uprisings, to really define who you are, what you're about, and what you want to bring to the world. So if you did miss it, there will be a replay. As far as there will be a replay if this lets me save it. Sometimes when they get really long, they don't let me save the IGs, and we're at about the hour at this point. And then if you do, so if it doesn't save, then like shit out of luck, you're not gonna miss the entire thing. If it does let me save, then it'll be in my feed as well as on my website, where you'll be able to watch it in like super speed. So I know I actually talk pretty quick, so I don't know how that's going to work, but I know I like to watch things quickly. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and like sign off. Doesn't look like there are. All right, cool. So on that note, thanks for joining. I'll see you all next week. I don't know what that says. So I'll see you all next week, Wednesdays at 11:30, and sometimes I pop on just for funsies too, just to chat. Yeah. Have a good one. Thank you so much again for joining for this week's Aligned Marketing Chat. I will see you all next week. Bye.